Right now, I'm currently doing my 17-mile long run here in Florida. We park our camper here in Florida, so we stay here a long time when we come to Disney. Last week, I did my first ever Disney race. I did the Dine Half Marathon, and this video is going to be all about my first experience at a Disney race. Hi, I'm Erica, and this is Erica Runs Slow. So back in January, the YouTube algorithm picked up on my new obsession with running and my established obsession with Disney, and it started showing me videos of people doing the Disney Marathon weekend, which was happening around that time in January. I didn't know that Disney had run events until this point, and so I went to the website and I got familiar with all the races, and I decided I just had to do it. So I looked at the website, looked at the dates when the registration was going to start, and I decided to sign up for the Dine Half Marathon. I got up early on February 11th, and I waited patiently in the online queue for my time, and I registered for the Dine Half Marathon. I was so excited that I got in, and I started planning my training to run it. At this point, I was running about 3 to 4 miles nonstop, and I was doing about 5 miles for my long runs. So 8 months felt like a reasonable time to train for a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles. So I started just running a little farther every day, doing a little bit more. I started to worry that I wasn't going to be able to do 13 miles. It felt like a long distance, and I hadn't really followed any solid training plan until this point. So I decided to sign up for a local half marathon in Colorado Springs because I wanted to know if I could do it before I showed up at Disney, because I like being happy at Disney. I don't want to fail at Disney. So I signed up for a half marathon in May, and I got a training program called runNA that built me a plan, followed the plan, did everything it said I should do. I got to my half marathon in May. I ran it just as planned. They changed the course the last minute, and so it was very hilly. I ended up with a finishing time of 2 hours and 48 minutes, which I wasn't super thrilled with. I was trying to get a 2 hour and 30 minute. I had a rough night ahead of time, and the change in course really threw me off. There was one real giant hill that I had to go back, and it was a double out and back, so I had to do that giant hill twice, and it was really hard, but I was very proud of myself. And the first half marathon is always a personal record, so 2 hours and 48 minutes is what I had did. By this point, I had already signed up for marathon weekend because I caught the Disney Run bug before I ever even ran one. So at this point, after my half marathon in May, I just started building up my mileage and making my long runs just a little longer, because my official training block through runNA from the marathon didn't start until September. I don't know why, but it doesn't let you do anything longer than I think like 20 weeks. So I couldn't start it until then. So I was just building up my mileage, just doing more and more running. I built up my mileage to about 35 to 40 miles per week. My official training block for the marathon started in September, and that's when I really started ramping up my miles, doing more speed works, and following the plan runNA had made for me. Interestingly enough, the Dine Half Marathon, runNA decided to make it into a deload week. So my long run before going to the Dine was 16 miles, and my 13 miles was a deload week for that. In October, before I arrived for my Dine, I was getting kind of bored with just the normal runs. I decided to sign up for another local half marathon. I did that on October 4th. The Colorado Springs Marathon weekend, I ran the half marathon for that. I did run it with a friend, and I think that helped a lot keep my motivation up. I was aiming for about a 2 hour and 40 minute run because it was going to be a personal record still, but it was part of my training block. I wasn't really racing to race. But I went and I did the race with my friend, and I crushed it. I got a 2 hours and 28 minutes, which is 20 minutes faster than my previous half marathon time, which was really exciting. It did take a little bit out of me though, and I did maybe overdo it a little bit for a training run, but I recovered well and I kept going in my plan. When we arrived in Florida on the 22nd, I I wasn't sure how I was going to approach the Wine and Dine race. If I was gonna just do an easy Dylan 2 run because it's just part of my training plan at this point, or if I really wanted to push myself because this is the race I signed up for initially. So this was the thing originally. And now that I've rolled it into my marathon training, I didn't want to just ignore it though. But I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach it. We went to the expo on Thursday because my husband and my oldest kid was running the 5K on Friday. So we had to go on the first day of the expo. I picked up my bib. I learned that I was in Corral D, and that's the 4th corral of 7 for the half marathon, which I was surprised that I got that far into the corral, but it also meant that I had more cushion of time. So the way that the Disney runs work is you have to finish the half marathon in 3 hours and 30 minutes, which is a 16-minute pace, but that starts from when the last people cross the start line. So since I was 4 groups ahead of that, that meant I had like a 45-ish minute cushion on top of that. So I could take it easy. I could have walked the whole thing and been just fine. But I decided at the time that I wanted to push myself. I wanted to see what my body can do at sea level, because I train in Colorado Springs, which is at 6,700 feet elevation. And anytime I come down to Florida, I notice that I can run way faster. My heart rate stays way more regulated. I just do better overall. So I wanted to see what my body could do at the Wine and Dine and use that as a basis to decide how I was going to approach the marathon or the half marathon before the marathon. Because remember, the Goofy Challenge is a half marathon on Saturday and a marathon on Sunday. And I wanted to base my planning off of the Wine and Dine race results. Unfortunately, I didn't realize it was going to be so hot. It is October, the end of October too, so I didn't think it was going to be that hot, but it was so hot. I arrived at the race starting area at 4 in the morning, and it was already like 70 degrees and 90% humidity. It was going to be rough, I could already tell. But the energy was buzzing, things were feeling exciting. They have a lot of entertainment at the start lines. We started moving through the corrals, and it started getting going, and I could feel the excitement. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of videos during the race. I got wrapped up in the race, and I was having so much fun that I forgot to do a lot of videos in the race. And I know that these videos of the Disney races usually have a lot of footage of running on the race and the course, and I just didn't do that. I'm sorry. I finally got through the start line at 5:20 in the morning. So I'd already been there for an hour and 20 minutes, and I finally got started. We started in the Epcot parking lot, and we ran back behind the parking lot and did some roadways first before we headed into Epcot around the test track area. And we went down and we went through the Mexico First route to go through the World Showcase, and ran the whole World Showcase. And I thought we were going to go out the International Gateway where you go in and out if you're a resort guest, but we actually passed it and we went through between the Canada and the UK pavilions, and there's like a little backstage area, and we went through there, and then we ran through the boardwalk. We hit the boardwalk at about mile 3, and then we did the walking path to Hollywood Studios as well. I've actually run this path, the boardwalk, the beach club and yacht club. We didn't go on that side for the race, and the Hollywood Studios walking path many times during my training when I come and visit here. It's one of my favorite routes because it's a solid 3 miles if you do the whole boardwalk loop and you go all the way down to Hollywood Studios. So you can get a good long run in by just repeating it. We hit Hollywood Studios about mile 4, and we didn't go in the main entrance like I thought we would. We went back behind where the Fantasmic show goes, and then we went down Sunset Boulevard Avenue, I don't know, the Sunset area that goes to the Tower of Terror. We went through Echo Lake and ran through Star Wars and Toy Story Land before we hit mile 5. The park isn't that big. It feels really big when you're going there with your family and there's kids complaining and it's hot and you're trying to get to rides, but then you got to get to this other ride. It feels way big, but it's not big. It was only about a mile to get through all of Hollywood Studios. After we left Hollywood Studios, we did a lot of road running. We did like the roadways between parks. Just boring. They tried to pepper in some characters and some entertainment, but it was kind of boring. They did have some great characters. I didn't stop for everyone. I did stop for Lilo, and I stopped for Judy Hopps. There was also a VW bus that opened up at the top, and there's like a DJ hanging outside. I got a video of that because we own the ID Buzz, and so now I just noticed the Volkswagen buses more, and I took a video to show the kids. We hit the Blizzard Beach, the infamous Blizzard Beach parking lot at mile 7, and I've heard so much negative talk about the Blizzard Beach parking lot in the Facebook groups, and I was worried, but it really wasn't so bad. That's where they gave out the honey stingers, and I was able to go to the bathroom, and there was no line. They were all empty, so I could go to the bathroom without waiting at all. So it didn't feel that bad. But I do know that a lot of the grief of the Blizzard Beach parking lot comes from Marathon Week. And in Marathon Week, you run through the Blizzard Beach parking lot at like mile 22 of 26. So I could see why it would leave a more negative impression at that race than it would in a half marathon at mile 7. At around mile 10 is when things got more challenging. This is the point where we started doing a lot of the like on ramps and off ramps and bridges. So there's more elevation change at this point, on top of it already being boring and coming after a long chunk of boring roadway work. So it was just, they had more entertainment and they tried, but I didn't love this part. I did see Phineas and Ferb around this point. I think they were out around mile 11, and I love Phineas and Ferb. My husband and I started watching Phineas and Ferb before we ever had kids, so we love Phineas and Ferb, and I was super excited. We saw Phineas and Ferb with the kids back in either June or July at Epcot, and that was amazing, and so I was excited to see him again at the half marathon. By the time we got to mile 12, we were heading back into like the Epcot bus route area again, and there's a lot of people standing there cheering, and that really helped my motivation a lot because I was feeling pretty worn down by this point, and I was feeling like maybe it wasn't worth my time, and that maybe it wasn't as fun as I thought it was going to be, and then there's a lot of people cheering, and then it really helped and motivated me a lot. We headed back into Epcot around that time, and we went back in, I don't remember where we went back in, but we went around the other part of, not the World Showcase, but where they have like Club Cool, which wasn't open. That would have been really amazing. And then past the Epcot ball, which I think is called Spaceship Earth, I'm sorry. And then we cut back into the parking lot, and that's where the finish line was. I did see Jeff Galloway at the finish line. I didn't get a picture with him, which I wish I had, but it was exciting to see him. And then I crossed the finish line, and I got a time of 2 hours and 26 minutes, which is a personal record. 2 minutes faster than my last half marathon in October. And so that was very exciting. Now I don't count the time I had my watch paused because I was waiting in line for characters, and maybe some people say that it doesn't really count as a personal record, but I say it counts. My official chip time was 2 hours and 40 minutes because of the time I spent waiting in line for the characters. If I'm being honest, I was hoping I could do a 2 hour and 20 minute half marathon. I wanted to believe that if I could hold a 10:30 pace for a half marathon, maybe I could hold an 11:30 pace for a full marathon. I didn't anticipate the heat. I'd hoped that just being at sea level would help me more than it did. But maybe in January, the temperatures will be more mild, and maybe I will be. But I think I'm going to plan for a 12:30 pace at the marathon. And if I get into an earlier corral, then I will have that buffer of time as well. So that should help. I don't have a specific goal time for my marathon, although my Runna app says I can do it in 5 hours. I don't think so. I'm thinking probably 5 hours and 30 minutes. That's what a 12:30 pace gives me. But what I really want to be able to do is I want to be able to see some characters, and I'd like to be able to ride the Expedition Everest. I've seen YouTube videos where they do that, and that seems really fun to ride a ride mid-marathon. If I get placed into a corral like I did for the half marathon, then I should have plenty of cushion, because the time starts, you have to finish it in 7 hours, and that time starts from when the last person crosses the start line. So if I'm in an earlier corral again, I should have a good chunk of time for a marathon, like a good extra hour and a half to still do those things. But I don't know what corral I'm going to get into. For the Wine and Dine, I did submit a proof of time because I had done a 10K in an hour and 5 minutes. And so I submitted that proof of time, but that proof of time isn't good for a marathon. It needs to be a 10-miler or a half marathon or another marathon. And I hadn't gotten a decent enough half marathon time by the cutoff to submit that. I got my 2:28 in October, and I needed to have submitted that, I think, in July. So I wasn't able to submit a proof of time, so I might be in a later corral for the marathon. So we'll see what happens when we get there, I guess. I'm gonna keep training, and I'm gonna train for doing an 11:30 pace the whole time, which would be about a 5-hour marathon, but expect to only finish it in about 5 hours and 30 minutes. I did recover pretty quickly. I felt fine the next day. We went to the theme park. I didn't run though. We went to a theme park. After the race, we went to Animal Kingdom. We did another park the next day. I can't remember which one. And I recovered quite well. So I didn't overexert myself too much. And I jumped back into marathon training on Tuesday. And I have been continuing to run since then in preparation. I'm excited to do the marathon weekend. I am excited to see what I can accomplish in a marathon, to see if I can even finish a marathon. I did 17 miles today, and it felt rough. Like, I'm fine, I did it, but it's still not even close to 26 miles, so I'm not sure. But I'm gonna keep trying, and I'm gonna have fun doing it.